Hey everyone, I'm so excited about today's episode, but first want to let you know that this show is made possible by Fortune Builders. I also want to take a minute to invite you guys to an amazing opportunity to learn from some of the top experts in the real estate industry about how to get started in real estate or scale an existing business to the next level. Fortune Builders is hosting a one-day webinar to help you learn about real estate investing in today's market. So throughout the show, if you feel like you're ready to get started, go to FortuneBuildersShow.com to register. Again, that's FortuneBuildersShow.com to register. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you'll find a link right below the show so you can get there that way as well. And please remember that the content of this show and every show is for educational purposes only. Myself or our guests are not going to be providing any legal, financial, or professional advice. If we share specific results, they are attributed to an individual or a business, and we can't guarantee the results will happen for you, those earnings or the income will match those figures. The bottom line is there's always risk when investing in real estate. You can make a lot of money or you can lose a lot of money, and it's hard work. But that doesn't mean we can't have fun doing it. So let's get into today's episode.
From a team that has $1 billion in real estate investment experience. A show to help you learn the strategies and systems it takes to get started investing in real estate. This is the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show.
All right, welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show. Excited about today's episode. We got my man Chris Guercio in the booth. I'll give him a formal introduction here in a moment. But we're going to get into kind of an interesting topic today. We talk a lot about on this show around passive income. So I guess what we're going to talk about today, we could put into that category. So I know you guys love passive income. We've talked about it in the context of, from rental properties, commercial buildings. But I'm going to hold it as a little secret right now, but you'll learn during the show another way of generating passive income. And actually our word of the week this week is leveraged residual income. Fancy little phrase there, but like I said, a different form of passive income. And it's really when you have opportunities to build a team in different ways, shapes, or form. And then based on the efforts of those teams, you are making residual income off of their efforts. So if you are a sales manager, for instance, and you're managing a team of salespeople and you have 10 salespeople that work for you, report to you, and they're going out, they make sales, you get a small percentage of that. We actually have a guest here today that does that in relation to real estate. So we're going to get into that opportunity. So let's get after it. All right, Chris, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, buddy?
It's great to have you on.
Good to see you.
Great to have you on here. And just to give you a little formal introduction here, and then I want to hear from you your story. I know your story, but just so the people could hear your story. But Mr. Guercio here is a former attorney. Not too fond of attorneys personally, but this is a good one. I don't mind this one though. I don't mind this one. But New York State attorney, for a number of years. Actually, you connected with us via Mastery, right? Became a Fortune Builder student into the Mastery program, and then you turned investor. You're still investing to this day. Active income, passive income, and an agent with EXP, and that's kind of really where we're going to focus on today with the residual income. But I love when guests come on. Just give us a couple minute overview of your story, kind of where you started, where you are now, the journey along the way. Let's hear it.
Sure. You guys took me on quite a ride. It's been quite a change over the last decade. I was practicing law in New York for a number of years. Was in the DA's office for several years, and then went into private practice. we're making good money. It just wasn't what I wanted to be doing with my life, but I had the classic golden handcuffs. And then, I essentially stumbled into one of your seminars on Long Island, and my man, Johnny Steingraber, he tore the roof off.
Yeah.
And I totally fell in love with it. So I ended up signing up for Mastery.
Yeah.
And over the course of the next year, transitioned out of practicing law and started investing full time.
Yeah.
I was doing that, anything you could think of, buying rental properties, lending money, doing rehabs, and got really involved with Dan and the guys. So they ended up recruiting me and bringing me onto the road team. So I was actually then working on that 3-day workshop team.
The road team. So you traveled to the events,
all
actually
over the place.
Enroll new students and things like that?
Typical Than, it was supposed to be like 2 weeks a month, and it ended up being, 5 weeks a month. So, I was on the road quite a bit for those guys, but loved it, really got to be involved in the 3-day workshops.
Yeah.
And then during the course of that, moved out to San Diego to be closer to the guys. And the big reason for that was in everything that I was doing in real estate, the agency aspect was something that really attracted me because it was very similar to the type of business I was in previously in terms of representing a client.
Yeah, yeah.
And for me, that was something that was highly scalable.
Got it.
So moved out here, started at Realty National.
Yep.
Ended up getting recruited by some of the bigger brokerages in La Jolla, where I was looking to target and do higher end listings, the multi-million-dollar range.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, as fate would have it, it's probably 4 or 5 years later, completely circled back, and the team I was with. We joined eXp Realty, and I think I joined on a Tuesday, and I had lunch with JD on Wednesday and talked to him about a plan to really take Realty national.
Oh, okay.
And that's essentially what we ended up doing. We brought Realty National into eXp.
Gotcha.
And now we've been expanding all over the country with it.
Got it. So Realty National was the brokerage, and now
Correct.
we folded that into eXp, and
Exactly.
now you're able to scale that nationally.
Yep.
Awesome, man. So day-to-day focus, I know you're sitting on a lot of passive income properties, but day-to-day focus is just representing clients in terms of buying and selling properties, investors, and then building out the team, right?
Yeah. It's for the last several years, I was I started out really just representing clients one-on-one. I joined a big team in La Jolla. Sure. And I was probably there about 6 months or so when I started focusing on where I was really the head of operations for the team. So sort of running the day-to-day and doing the hiring and training of agents and stuff. And then, so now I still actively sell. And, one of my primary focuses now is really building our organization within eXp and helping the agents on our group expand themselves.
Got it. We're going to get a little bit in that today. The reason why I wanted Chris to come on is because through the day-to-day course of being a real estate investor, we interact with a lot of real estate agents. And I'm always looking for different streams of passive income. I love real estate, but I love passive income more. I don't care if it comes from a piece of property, from EXP, from an ATM machine, as long as it's passive income.
Exactly.
So this is something as investors, as you're listening and watching, that I think some light bulbs are going to go off. How you can see how this could be very easily integrated into what we're doing on a day-to-day basis as investors. But before we get into that, let's talk about, we teach here at Fortune Builders, this, Chris, but as a real estate investor, it's wise to get your license.
1,000%.
We're not advocating going out there and representing retail clients and showing people houses on the weekends, but it gives you a lot of advantages. So from your perspective, what is the advantage to getting licensed as an investor?
No doubt about it. that's actually what caused me to get my license in the first place. Number one, you'd like to be able to do your own research, and just, you always hear people say, trust but verify.
Trust but verify,
So when you're able to have your own MLS access and you can actually run comps and you learn how to do that, that's invaluable as people are bringing you potential deals to be able to help you with the evaluation process to determine whether or not it's actually a deal.
Absolutely.
So number one, that's super critical. The other side of that is, whether or not you're looking to, actually represent other clients.
Sure.
There are so many opportunities that get left on the table if you're not licensed when you're an investor.
That's true.
So,
That's
for
true.
example, just in terms of if there's a property that's listed on the MLS, you can represent yourself, as the agent representing yourself as the investor,
Right.
and it gives you, a lot of flexibility in terms of waiving part of the commission that you're due to end up lowering the price and the acquisition, representing yourself on the back end of the property so that you can save money on commissions there as well.
Yeah.
And then, obviously in doing that, you're going to have a lot of other opportunities that get generated in terms of buyers coming to your rehab that they may not get or want that place, but now they're looking for something else.
Yeah.
So you can pick up other clients there. And one of the things that we see happen all the time, which we used to do quite a bit with CT Homes, was when they would show up at a seller appointment.
Yeah.
And especially in this crazy market now that houses are skyrocketing in value. So ultimately, the numbers a lot of time don't pencil out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have your Mayo and you say, I don't want to go above this and making an offer on this place. But the seller says, well, I want this for my house.
Sure. Numbers
don't work for a flip. However, on the open market these days, who the heck knows? You know what I mean? Houses are out here. I've seen houses go for $1 million over asking price. Yeah. So when you're licensed, rather than just walking away empty-handed and saying, this is a flip that, the numbers don't work for me, so you walk away, now you can say, well, let me list the property for you on the open market and try and get you that price.
Sure.
Or if you're not looking to actually be a listing agent,
refer it over.
You refer it out. Exactly. Yeah. So there's so many opportunities that come up just from having your license.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think that first point you made was so key, is just when, we're out there as investors, we see a listing coming up, call the listing agent directly.
Yep.
Right. We could go make an offer on the property. We could collect a commission, or just say, hey, I'm licensed, but I'm not looking to get a commission on this one. Gives us a better chance of getting that property under contract. And then the referral. That's how I use it. I'm not interested in listing properties, but typically what's average? 25, 30%, most markets across the country.
On a referral fee?
On a referral fee.
Yep.
Yeah. So what Chris is saying there, just to, as investors, we invest in our marketing, right? So say you're spending $1,000 a month or $100 a month, it doesn't matter. You're investing money in your marketing, you're generating leads. Some of those you're going to buy as an investor. Many of them are going to be no's, but if those are your only two options, you're only going to make money when you do a deal as an investor. But having your license gives you that third, actually really 3 and 4, list it yourself, or refer it. But you guys are actually partnered with FortuneBuilders now.
Yeah.
So I know Randy Zimnak, he's been on the show before, but just give us an overview of what your relationship is like with this company.
Sure. So one of the biggest advantages of EXP is because it's a cloud-based brokerage, they cut out all of the unnecessary overhead associated with running a brokerage, which typically gobbles up all the profitability.
Got it.
You'll hear all the time people say the operative word in brokerage typically is broke because they just don't make a lot of money as a business entity. So what our founder did was came up with the idea to make it cloud-based, get rid of the brick and mortar, get rid of all the mid-level management and the supplies and all the things that completely erode the profitability.
Sure.
And what that enabled them to do then was, now that they're significantly more profitable, they want to share that wealth with the agents for helping the company grow.
Got it.
So we have what they call a revenue share program. Mm-hmm. So when you end up bringing an agent into the company, rather than all of the money just going to corporate and the guys at the top getting rich, they share that wealth with us because we're part of the reason why they're making that money in the first place.
There
because
you go.
We brought that agent in.
There you go.
So not only can you make, can you share in the revenues from the agents you directly bring in, but the agents they bring in and the agents they bring in, all the way out to 7 levels removed from you.
Gotcha.
So what I did was when we joined EXP, JD was literally my first phone call and said to him, let's go to lunch.
Right.
And I sat him down and said, look, this is a way where you guys can eliminate a lot of the overhead associated with Realty National, have, essentially the back office operations of a huge company behind you to leverage all of their resources and trainings and the staff and everything else that they have. And you're able to expand into any state or country where EXP is operating. So whereas Realty National used to be about 50 agents here and, split between San Diego and Orange County.
Right.
Now, so I sponsored JD into EXP. He then in turn sponsored Randy Zimnock.
Okay.
And we're constantly reaching out to members of the Mastery community who are either already licensed, in the process of it, or just thinking about getting their licenses, and bringing them into EXP as well.
Gotcha. I love it. So kind of the way I'm envisioning, and to me, the benefit for those of you listening today as an investor is, as an investor, we want to get licensed. We talked about that. And then if we're in the EXP organization during our day-to-day activities as an investor, we're going to run into realtors
constantly.
So we just, let's just hypothetically say I'm underneath you.
Yep.
I just meet this person. Hey, you should talk to Chris, right?
Exactly.
They roll it, and then that puts them under me. Then I'm getting that leverage residual income that you're talking about. Sounds a little like an MLM though.
Yep.
How does it differ? There's one of those jokes, you ever hear, how do you know somebody goes to CrossFit? They'll tell you. How do you know someone's an EXP agent? They'll tell you.
No doubt about it.
Right. So how is this different from an MLM?
I'm actually rereading right now. I read it years ago and didn't have a context for it, and I'm rereading Building an Empire right now. Mm-hmm. And Brian Carruthers, a guy who comes from a real estate family, a huge real estate family, and he ended up transitioning into what's commonly referred to as network marketing, which is what people, when they hear that term, MLM.
Got it.
And he says something in the book that's so brilliant in order to break this down. Think about your broker. If you're working at a brokerage right now, you have to, as an agent, you have to be working under a licensed broker.
That's right. Yep.
That person's job is essentially to grow that brokerage by bringing in agents, and typically that broker isn't actively selling homes. But what happens is, as those agents that are at that brokerage are selling houses, they're paying a commission split to that broker.
Sure.
So what EXP does is, there is somewhat of a network marketing component to it.
Sure.
However, when you break it down, really what it does is puts you in the position and able to have the advantages of being the broker.
Yeah.
So it's not just your own income. When you're an agent, you're only as good as your last deal.
That's right.
And you're constantly on that hamster wheel saying, okay, I closed a big deal and I just made myself 20 grand, pat yourself on the back for 2 seconds, and now it's get back to filling the pipeline again. Yeah. Because you never know when that next deal is going to come along. Mm-hmm. So it's a really nice way to sort of get yourself out of the rat race. Yeah. And it's not just your own direct income.
Sure.
There's alternative income streams.
Yeah.
And all I'm really doing, whenever I'm talking to an agent about this, is saying, I absolutely love it at this company. Yeah. You should take a look at it too. It's never a hard sell, because typically when agents who are business minded and are opportunistic, once they actually take a look at it and realize, it's not the dirty word of pyramid scheme, which everybody always, they're like, it's a pyramid scheme. Yeah. 99 out of 100 people couldn't actually tell you what a pyramid scheme really is.
It's true.
And this is nothing like that. It's simply, that's what I do every time I'm talking to an agent, is say, well, what's your commission split at your brokerage? Yeah. Do you have a franchise fee there? Do they offer you health insurance? Are you getting stock in the company? Can you benefit from bringing other agents to that company? What do you get when you do that? Is it a Starbucks gift card? Is it a pat on the back? You're making that company money now. Shouldn't you share in the wealth? Sure. And that's been Glenn's philosophy from the beginning. Glenn Sampert, our founder, was simply, I want to share the money that I'm making with the agents who are the reason I'm making this money. You know what I mean? By bringing other people in. Yeah. So that's all it is. So there's definitely a network marketing component to it. But when it breaks down in our industry, the real difference is I'm not bringing somebody in and asking them all of a sudden to sell soap or candles or some other product. they're literally coming into a company and continuing to do exactly what they're already doing, selling real estate.
Sure.
Now they just get to benefit from leveraged residual income.
Yeah, it's a brilliant model. I remember it was a year or two, Glenn Sanford came to our Real Estate Ignite conference, and Than did an interview with him. And I was blown away by the model, the idea behind it. And I remember I started as an agent, 2001. That's when I got into the game. My first 3 years was just an agent, but it definitely was that hamster wheel, where just once that deal closes, you got to find the next one. And the one thing I always saw that agents were totally unprepared for was retirement.
Right.
I was a young buck, but we had a lot of older agents, and I would talk to them, and they had nothing put away.
They always say, what do you call an agent's retirement party? Their funeral.
Oof.
You know what I mean? Like, when was the last time you actually went to an agent's retirement?
Wow.
Never.
Wow. Right. So break that down. I mean, you don't need to get into all the multiple.
You don't want all the numbers.
Yeah. We don't need to go into all of that. So I'm an EXP agent. I bring somebody underneath me.
Yep.
They go, sell a house and make a $10,000 commission.
Yep.
Roughly, like. What stock is coming out of that? What percentage is coming to me?
So you're going to get, it's 3.5% of the gross commission income for the people on that first tier. So your direct recruits, if they're doing a $10,000 gross commission that comes in, you'd get $350 on that one.
Okay.
So it's capped each year on how much you can make, like, per agent in each level, because the nice thing about EXP, the real draw for us in going there was there's a cap on the commissions that you have to pay to the brokerage. So everybody starts at an 80-20 split, but it's a $16,000 cap. So when we looked at it for our team, which sells 9 figures worth of real estate every year, that saved us $305,000. We had a 90-10 split with our previous brokerage. We went down to an 80-20 split with a $16,000 cap, and that saved us over $300,000. So we were sold on that. So once an agent has capped, so now they're no longer paying a commission split to the brokerage, then you've capped out on the revenue share for that agent until they reset the following year.
Got it.
So on those first tier, you can make up to $2,800 per agent on your first tier.
Got it.
Which is the people you directly bring in.
So the 350 in that example you use is stock above that, or
stock's in addition?
Stock is in addition.
Correct.
So how does that work?
So EXP is a publicly traded company. It's traded on the NASDAQ, and they have multiple ways that you can accumulate stock in the company. So each year when you do your first transaction, they're going to give you $200 worth of stock.
Got it.
If you hit the cap of $16,000 in company dollar paid in, they're going to give you another $400 in stock.
Yeah.
For any agent who you bring into the company directly, when they do their very first transaction, you're going to get another $400 in stock.
There you go.
They also have an icon award where when you hit a certain level, it's for our high producing agents, when they hit that level of production, they can get back the entire $16,000 that they paid in company dollar. They get it back in company stock.
Oh, wow.
So like Pete, my sponsor, he's been there 2 full year cycles. He's essentially, not only has he hadn't paid anything in commissions, because both years he hit icon status and got the full $16,000 back in stock, but that stock is also worth probably 6 times what it was worth when he got it.
Sure.
So they actually paid him to be there.
Oh man, I remember Than told me a while ago, he's like, dude, buy stock in EXP. I bought it at $7 a share. Sold it at like 23.
Yeah, and
then
it hit
then
179.
it went up to 100, and then 179.
179 is where it topped out at.
Oh wow, wow! And then it split, right?
Then it split.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's it at today? Ballpark?
Oh, it's low today because the whole sector is getting hammered. But pre-split prices, it's around 34 a share.
Got it.
But the entire sector, the whole stock market is down at this point. But I'm telling everybody, I'm not authorized to give stock advice, but I'll just say that, everybody who I know is buying right now.
Yeah. Speaking of buying, I'm just going to do a quick plug here for our education as we do every week. But if you are interested in learning how to buy real estate, passive income, active income, we talk about that. I mean, that's really the purpose of this show, is to empower your purpose through financial education. We believe real estate is the greatest way, the greatest asset class to create wealth. And we just launched a brand new class just a few weeks ago. It's about a 2-hour class that I teach it, and this other gentleman, Woody, we kind of alternate weeks on it. But it's really a foundational class if you're thinking, all right, I know I want to invest in real estate, or maybe even just acquire some properties around your current career. We'd be honored to have you as a guest, and the tickets are free. All you need to do is click the link below this video, FortuneBuildersShow.com. Or if you're listening on one of the audio platforms, just FortuneBuildersShow.com in the URL, and that'll get you your free ticket. But Chris, you're obviously you're in the market every day. You're dealing with buyers, you're dealing with sellers, you're dealing with agents. We talk a lot about on this show. Just right now we just see a window, of at least a few years of just likely appreciation. We have very low inventory. We have still, rates have gone up a little bit, but still historically low. Interest rates, a lot of money being printed in our country right now, driving inflation up. Yep. But what are you seeing overall? Where the market's at, where it's going? What are your thoughts?
It's been it's very interesting when you read all the economist reports now in terms of what they're predicting. Somebody actually had referred to it as they're like, we think it's going to be like this multi-car crash, but we have no idea how, like what that means. It's things, and because we're connected now to agents, I've got agents in 45 different states in my organization. So I'm talking to agents all over the country, and they're all saying the same thing.
45 states?
45 different states.
What five states are you missing?
I'd have to take a look. I just know, I could just see the count. Right. I think I'm missing North Dakota, I know is one of them.
All right.
Alaska, I'm missing. Got plenty in Hawaii, so we're spreading out all over the place.
All right. Well, if you're listening from Alaska or North Dakota,
give me a call.
Chris needs an agent.
Exactly. I want to go. I want to run the whole board so I can take a road trip. But they're all saying the same thing, that it's been ridiculous appreciation, and that's all been driven by lack of inventory.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I'm sure COVID had a big part to play in that, where people just sort of froze and wanted to sit tight. And it's been, when you have that historically low inventory coupled with the lowest interest rates we'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Certainly in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
It was a total feeding frenzy. I mean, once you had a listing, you're on autopilot.
Right.
You literally just put it into the MLS. I've seen houses, even here in San Diego, go for $1 million over asking price.
Unbelievable.
We had one of our guys made an offer that he thought was amazing, of $500,000 above asking, no contingencies, closed in 5 days, got outbid. They didn't even get a counteroffer.
Jeez.
So it's been nuts.
Yeah.
We're coming into the spring market now, so typically inventory increases during that time. More people are looking to sell. You're also seeing interest rates rising. I mean, again, like you said, it's all a matter of perspective. That these are still lower rates than I recall in my lifetime, but obviously up from the insane lows that they were at.
Yeah.
So all of that's going to contribute to I think a deceleration. Everybody's still predicting that home prices are going to increase, but it's just not going to be at the crazy accelerated rate that they've been at.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. Deceleration is just what Chris means there is appreciation, but at a slower rate, at a slower pace. Right. I mean, I think we're like 20% year over year, which
in some places. One of my agents, her clients bought a house 2 years ago. I actually think less than 2 years ago, for $1.9 million. Mm-hmm. They said to her that they want to sell it. She's closing in about a week and a half at 3.225. So they're going to walk away with over $1 million in 2 years. It's bananas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that is bananas. Right. I bought a house right down the road about 7 months ago now, and I mean, what it's gone up is ridiculous. Yeah. Makes me happy, but
no doubt about it.
But I was listening to Lawrence Young this morning. Yeah. He's an economist. If you're not familiar, with National Association of Realtors. And in context of inflation, we talk, obviously that's a huge issue. That's inflation is affecting prices as well. But it was interesting what he was saying. He was saying he kind of sees us headed toward stagflation, basically meaning continued inflation with negative GDP, which we're pretty much there now, and then high unemployment numbers. Yeah. And we do have high unemployment in this country, regardless of what the media is saying right now. There's a report they usually, what we hear on the media, they report off of what they call the E3 when really it should be off the E6. And so, to me, it's debate that we could be in stagflation right now, but inflation is just going to keep it's just going to keep driving up prices.
No question about it.
Yeah, it is. Where do you see the biggest opportunities right now, just for investors, in your opinion?
It's stop looking on the MLS. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're definitely it's unfortunately, but it's those distressed situations where people need to sell quickly.
Yes.
And it's the same thing for investors that I recommend to all of my agents, because constantly they're saying, I have all these buyers and they're pre-qualified and they're good to go and they have the cash and they're, a grade A buyer. But they put their search criteria into the MLS and one house comes up. And by the time they're done reading the description, the house is gone. It goes pending.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to get into those neighborhoods of, where you're looking to be. And I'm, while we try to do a lot of leverage, using leverage with technology,
Yeah.
I'm old school. I love to just pick up the phone and bang the phone for hours a day,
Sure.
calling and getting directly in front of people, knocking on doors, sending them mail, just guerrilla warfare marketing where they're seeing me everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's the key is you got to get in front of somebody, who wasn't potentially otherwise thinking of selling.
Right.
And, if you're, look, my man, John Steingraber, who was, he's been my mentor since day one, told me something brilliant years ago. And he's like, when's the last time you ever heard of rents going down? And I was like, he really just sort of took a step back and was like, yeah, you're not kidding. So, you know what I mean? I'm a big fan of long-term plays. I'm a huge fan of the what Equity Street Capital has been doing.
Sure,
like that's an
sure.
incredible opportunity. So if you haven't taken advantage of that yet, definitely check those out.
Yeah.
And as always, I'm a big advocate. Get your license.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that you can really leverage on those otherwise missed opportunities, and then you can take that extra income that you've earned and roll that into a passive income opportunity.
I agree, man. I agree. I couldn't agree more. At the end of the show, I'll have you, if you're just throw out your information so people can reach out to you if they want help. But Chris, I know you've never been on the show before, but we actually haven't done this in a while. We haven't, but JD loves this, but it's something, Chris, that we call the fear factor. So I've, as you know, I've had the honor of teaching and training FortuneBuilders students all across the country for maybe 10 years now. Probably, I've been in front of maybe 30, 40,000 different students.
At least.
And the number one question that I always hear, it comes in different variations, but it's basically like, Jeff, I'm afraid to get started. How do I get through the fear? Right? So obviously fear is something that, not just getting started in real estate, that could affect all areas of life. But Chris Guercio, how do you deal with fear? And how do you take action despite of it?
That's a good question. One thing that I always found is that like the procrastination when you have something that you should be doing or that you need to be doing, but you're not actually doing it, that always makes it worse. And 99 times out of 100, when you have something that you're afraid of, and then when you just actually jump in and do it, it turns out that it wasn't so bad. You know what I mean? Go. I got very lucky at the very beginning of my career. It was literally my second day in the DA's office. I didn't even know where the men's room was yet. The boss comes walking in, doesn't even say hello, drops a file that's 3 inches thick on my desk and said the trial starts Thursday. And I wanted to throw my brains up like, okay, I'm picking a jury in 2 days.
Wow.
And it was the best thing that could have happened to me in my career because so many attorneys in the DA's office would have just pled the case out or walked away or just been like, I'm not ready for this.
Sure.
And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it. And, walking in and getting that done when I was so terrified I threw my brains up that morning getting ready. I'd never picked a jury before.
Right.
And once I got through it, that gave me such a huge level of confidence. Like, wow, that wasn't so bad. I'm actually pretty good at this. And the next thing you know, I was trying every case in sight. I was getting cases assigned to me.
There you go.
So, and I'll clean up the language for this show because Dan always yells at me that I have a potty mouth. But when I got up to the courtroom door that first day, when I put my hand on the door and was literally like almost trembling, I just took a deep breath and said like, this is my blank house.
There you go.
And just put myself in that mindset of like, they're coming. This is my house.
Yeah,
I own this place.
I own this.
And that did a heck of a job in sort of calming me down and realizing like, look, I made it through law school. I passed the bar. Like,
right.
I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Just do it. So it's the same thing with this. Like,
that's good.
You guys are getting trained in this stuff. You're getting the best possible training that you can get in this business, and realize you're not going down, an unblazed, is that even a word? Unblazed trail.
Yeah,
you're not going down a trail for the first
that
time.
works.
Somebody's done this for you. I'm an English major from college. I probably should know that. But you're literally following a recipe that has been, these cookies have been baked thousands of times.
Yeah.
Follow the recipe.
Yeah.
And when you do that, that'll give you the confidence that, you know what you're doing and you're following the right steps.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. It was great having you on this show. You kind of gave some good advice there, but any parting words of wisdom or any other advice for investors, agents out there?
The one thing that I tell people every day is that you got to be committed. You know what I mean? That's one of the very first things that I learned, joining Mastery was just such a new experience for me in terms of professional development and actually thinking about these things. And, are you serious? Are you curious? Are you committed, or are you, sort of, I'll give this a shot? Whether you're an investor, an agent, active or passive, you have to commit yourself to it. And if you're somebody who has a full-time job and you want to break out of that job and you want to have the freedom that comes with, being an investor and having passive income streams, it ain't passive in the beginning. You got to put in the nights, you got to put in the weekends, you have to put in the time. But when you do that and you put in that work up front, that's what's going to lead to time and financial freedom down the road.
That's good. Are you serious or are you curious? That's it. Somebody told me once POUR stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly.
Yep.
So you listened to the show today. You had 3 opportunities. You had 1, free class, start learning real estate. You were given some knowledge to take some action, have a EXP opportunity as well. But yeah, I'm just big on just taking action. I'm at the point, Chris, where I would rather make a wrong decision and just learn quicker than, sit and do nothing.
Yeah,
right?
Agreed. You got to take action.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, so great having you on the show today. Are you able to help agents if they're interested in all 50 states?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're listening as an agent, you have your license or you want to get a license, Chris is here to help. How could they get in touch with you?
Easiest way, you can submit an email to info@chrisknowsexp.com.
info@chrisknowsexp.com. We'll put that in the description below as well. But info@chrisknows, KNOWS. .exp. Did I mess it up?
chrisknowsexp.com.
Chris Knows EXP. There it is.
Yep.
There it is. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Looking forward to next week. Actually, JD is going to be bringing Mr. Dan Wright in and actually doing a case study of a recent deal that we just did here in San Diego. And it's a crazy one. You're going to love it. But great deal, great profit. So look forward to seeing you next week on the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show. Take care.